am back with another one, and I am joined today with a special guest. You can go ahead and introduce yourself to the show, my dog.
Real talk with Big Dave. What up, though? What up,
What
Dave?
up, though? What up, though, Big Dave?
Hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure that our audio and everything is. Let me go over to my channel. I want to make sure that we being heard, properly before we start today's show. So give me 1 second. Hold on. Okay, so there we go. I hear our volume. So we definitely being heard. So yeah, Big Dave, what's good with you, man? What's good, dog?
Oh man, nothing but another day in the neighborhood. You know what it is.
Okay, man. We both don't took a few days off, but we definitely I'm definitely about to get back into putting this content back out, man. Today was a good day today, man. My one of my special friends, EC Emery Clark, I want to give a special shout out to my homeboy Emery Clark. We walked him down the aisle today. He jumped over that broom. It was a beautiful thing, man. Black love is a beautiful thing. When it's right. Like I said, a good friend of mine. I was one of his groomsmen today at his wedding today. It was a beautiful thing. He had an awesome wedding. A beautiful bride. A beautiful ceremony, Big Dave. Like I said, when it's when it's right, man, it's a beautiful thing. You know,
Man, it's always
oh, go
that.
ahead, go ahead though.
No, I said it's always a beautiful thing when two people can come together and join this kind of matrimony, you know what I'm saying, a black love. You did expect it when they together like that, man, and they loving one another and they just end up tying a knot. So that's just hope for that black love to last for eternity and nothing short.
Facts. And that's nothing but a fact, man. Hopefully it lasts for eternity, and he has it's a story behind this wedding, today, but I won't speak about it. Hopefully I'll be able to bring Emery Clark EC on himself and we'll be able to talk about it. But it's a beautiful thing, man. Remind me back when I was married, the whole thing, like I said, I was one of the groomsmen, one of his best men today. It was a beautiful thing, man. Just being around all the festivities and just seeing all the people and just the love, man. It's a beautiful thing when two people come together, and unite as one. You know what I mean?
Real talk.
Yep, yep. I'm not gonna I just want to, give a shout out to EC, man, him and his wife. Like I said, it was a beautiful wedding, I'm glad these guys came together as one. It was a beautiful thing. So I just want to first and foremost give a shout out to those guys. It was a beautiful thing. But as we're gonna move on to other things, it's been a lot of police brutality going on around the country, Big Dave. We just had another incident. I want to give a shout out to Taylor Publishing House. He put out a lot of good content, every day about, these topics that we talk about too, and just the police brutality that's been going on, around the country. I don't know if you heard about the latest incident, Dave, but I'm getting ready to look up, something I was just watching a second ago, but give me your thoughts on what you think about, this all this police brutality that's been going on around the country, man.
It's sad, it's poor. It's never going to stop. The only way these things are going to stop is when you start taking their jobs and you start taking their retirement and pension from them. When you hold them accountable the way that they should be held accountable, that's the only way it's going to stop. See, when you start hitting their pockets, when you mess with capital, it seems to make things shut down awfully quick. People start to understand what they're doing when you start messing with their funds. Whenever you can beat the hell out of a person my color and get away with it, or murder me in cold blood and get away with it and still have your job and nothing, no repercussions come behind it, you're going to keep doing it because you feel that you're untouchable. So I'm really not liking what's going on with this because it's like repeating itself constantly. Is
Hey,
that
Big Dave, can you repeat, and not to cut you off, can you repeat what you just said again, man? Because I don't think a lot of people heard what you said. Kind of repeat what you said again, if you can remember.
like I said, man? No one, this stuff is never going to stop until they start hitting their pocketbooks. When
Mm.
you start to mess with the capital, people start to get out of amnesia fast and start to know exactly what they're doing is not right.
And
But as
that's what the
long as
fuck that
you keep
needs to happen. Go ahead, Dave.
exactly, as long as you keep letting them kill us cold blooded and beating us cold blooded, putting knees in our back and our neck, unaccessible force for no reason, they're going to keep doing it because they're still getting the check. Some of these guys are getting suspended with pay. And so, when you hold them accountable with messing with the capital, that's when things are going to change. I really truly believe that.
Yeah. And you hit it right on the nose, man. I think we need to come up with some type of solution where it's fine for us to sue the state and the federal, but what would really stop all this, Dave, if we're able to actually sue the actual officers that's out here committing these murders. If we're able to go after their retirement pension, if we're able to go after their 401, that shit will stop overnight, man. You know what I mean? It's like they really don't give a fuck because this implied immunity gives them free lands to be able to commit, these murders and these acts that they've been doing for, you know, um, shit for decades. You know what I mean? So but yeah, I agree with you 100%. There needs to be a financial, attachment to these motherfucking unjustified homicides, but on the other hand, we got to come up with another solution, because in the court they've been giving these motherfuckers free justice, justification to be able to go ahead and continue to do these murders that they've been
It's a
doing,
free
Dave.
fall.
So
It's a fucking
go ahead.
free fall. It's a free fall.
Yeah,
No, don't mean to cut you off, but let's get to the meat of it. It's a free fall. Get as many of them as you can, and I'll let as many of y'all go as I can. Now, if you get caught cold blooded, I might not be able to save you this time. So try to be careful with the cameras.
right.
See, at
Because
the
it
end
was
of
it
the
was
day,
it was just a situation, where you had an Ohio police officer who dragged another black man, not the young man who was dragged out, a few months ago, but you just had another black man who was dragged up out of his car and arrested, for no reason, and this is the latest, thing that's going on in Ohio, man, where we're getting no respect. These officers are getting, you know, um, braver and braver every day as we go, especially, when they're getting away with, being able to justify to be justified, to murder these black folks that they've been encountering, and we have to come up with a different game plan to be able to counter what's been going on, man. You know what I mean? So we
well,
have to come up with some type of solution, Dave, because the people are getting tired, of what we've been seeing.
well,
It's just been a bunch of justified, really unjustified homicides. Black men that's been getting shot in the back, clearly shot in the back. But the police themselves. So they'll never find themselves guilty. But we got a few
well, like
people watching. I need for you guys to like, comment, and make sure that you subscribe and share. Go ahead, Big Dave.
hey, like I said, man, it's like you know, um, this is not a secret. You know what I'm saying? It don't surprise me. And we got to do less protesting and less marching and start taking action. See, the
Facts.
order to take action, we have to come together. And number one, we have to stop helping them do what they're doing to us by killing and stop killing each other because we're adding to the numbers. We're adding to the numbers. See, they look for the littlest excuse to be able to attack us, and then they use them same excuses to get off of, get away with it. I seen him reaching. He was not applying. Listen, I know an older ex-cop from Detroit. His brother was Stanley Knox. And I never forget the great words that he said to me. He said, "No one is resisting arrest." He said, "When we pull you over and we pull you out that car, we make you have to try to lock up and stuff because we getting too aggressive with you." He said, "It's our fault why a lot of people look like they're resisting arrest. They're not resisting arrest. They're trying to apply to you, but you're pulling and nudging to the point that they flex their biceps is flexing. You know what I'm saying? They're jumping around and they're not even trying to resist arrest. But your reflections is going off. When somebody grab you a certain way, your reflection is to yank back and you're not really trying to fight them.
Right, and you hitting it right on the nose, man. That's the key word that they use. With all this what's
Resisting.
the word that what do they say? Stop. I don't forgot the word that they use all the time. Stop. Resisting. They'll use that
Yeah,
word when
start
you're not resisting, because you just had a case. And I'm not, I don't know if you're familiar with this case, but you had a young man who was just yanked up out of a car recently, and they was clearly trying to plant shit on him. He like, hold on, they planting shit on me. They literally trying to plant some shit, either some dope or whatever they was trying to plant on him, and at the same time, they trying to tase the motherfucker. He wasn't resisting, and they were like, stop resisting. He like, I'm not resisting, so those are the key words. These are the things that they use. We're hip to these games that they play. Stop resisting our thing, our keywords that they're able to use to be able to
well,
commit the crimes that they're doing, like far
I
as putting their knees in your neck, putting their knees in your back. But go
yeah,
ahead, Dave.
see that training is a bunch of bullshit. You're reflecting more pain than helping. So what do you expect a man to do when you digging your hard ass knees in his back and neck and he damn near can't breathe and you hurting his chest and his spine? What the hell you think he's gonna do? He's gonna squirm and move. You're hurting him.
Yeah, when they doing shit like that, it's almost like they want you to be able to do some shit so you can try to free yourself up so they can try to shoot your ass. And really that's what it is, because when they're putting a knee in your back, because with the incident that I was just talking about with the young man who he was like, "What, like y'all planting that shit." He like, "Yeah, they trying to plant evidence on me." They literally put their knee on his fucking sternum and he was like, "I can't breathe." So these tactics that they use, these are tactics that take away your breath, that you can't move, you can't breathe. So when people say that they can't breathe, it's not that they're just saying that shit so they can get off of them. They literally be
Listen,
putting their knees in places where it restricts their breathing. You know what I mean? So, and I got a lot of things that I've been wanting to talk about. That I got a few shows that I've set up, in the upcoming future that I want to talk about. With this, man. It comes to it's coming to a point where we have to understand that we'll never be treated equal as our counterparts. And
I,
this is how the police, when they engage us, this is how they look at things. They don't look at they do not look at us like how they look at their own. And once we realize that we'll never be treated equal as our counterparts, we'll understand that when we're
well,
dealing with the police, they're going to always treat us in an unequal way. So we have to, understand that when we're dealing with that. You know what I mean? So you
like
got to
man,
kind of understand what a lot of people, that has come before us try to give us, the knowledge on how to handle the police when coming in contact with them. But go ahead, Big Dave.
when these white boys, man, get pulled over by the police, they talk to them any kind of way and they don't fuck with them.
Yeah, because that's a
They,
right that
they
we
don't.
have. It's
Now
freedom of speech.
let's go back to Dylan, the guy that walked in the church that we so openly trust, and he came there and killed 9 blacks. When they caught him, they damn near walked him to the car and patted him on the shoulder. They took his ass to Burger King. I mean, they treated him like royalty, and he just killed 9 people. 9. He killed
Nine
the.
black
You know
people. You
what
got to
makes stuff?
realize that.
You know what makes stuff bad on our end, though.
What's that?
And I'm not trying to talk about black folks, man. Well, and all that shit. I ain't trying to go there. I'm just being real. We got to get out of that bullshit, bro. Because the first thing they people was doing after their family was cold-blooded murder. They was coming to court with this guy talking about some they forgive him. No, that's a lie. I don't forgive him. I ain't gonna forgive nobody that killed my. The only person I know that forgives and forgets is my God Almighty.
Right.
Me, I might can forgive you, but I ain't gonna forget. I
I
might
can't forgive you.
no. I'm just saying, if it was like that, I might can forgive you, but I ain't gonna forget. But me, I ain't forgiving you or forgetting.
Yeah, I
And
can't
we gotta
forgive
get
you or forget, because it's been
mentality
too
that
many.
we gotta be these nice people in church. I mean, in court. Yes, sir. We had enough of that.
Yeah, that turn. And see, and that's that turn the other cheek bullshit that was preached to us back in the slavery days. Don't do what we're doing to you.
Geech.
Turn the other cheek. You'll get it back when you get to heaven. That was we were taught a bunch of bullshit. But yeah, man, this police brutality, that's been going on throughout the country, especially down in Cincinnati. It has opened up a lot of eyes of black folks that really have not been paying attention to what's been going on with the police. And it's starting with the police, man. Over the last few years, you've been seeing multiple, justified homicides that's been justified, by law. That these police has been getting away with clearly, murdering unarmed, and even armed up, even so-called armed people that's been running away. So really, to me, it looks like it's an onslaught. It's fair game on black men and women. Because I can't just say it's just men, because you had a few women, that we even did shows on, Dave, like with the young woman who had the pot of hot water that they asked to put down, and they told her what they were going to do and shot her cold blooded in the head and killed her.
And make it so bad on that incident, they came to a home invasion and they seen nothing like that was going on, no forced entry. And then it led to who cars this. They already knew she had some kind of mental issues. When the one officer was checking the car, here comes the dirty officer. He eases in the house. What was he easing in the house? Well, what he's gonna try to rape her?
Right.
Gonna try to do something else to her? And then his partner end up walking in, and then he turns around and shoot her in the face.
Yeah, that was
But here's
cold,
the one
man.
thing I wanted to say, bro, about the resistant. I'm gonna give you an example from the guy that we watch. What's his name? Taylor, publisher.
Hey, yeah, Taylor House Publishing. Hold your thought real quick for 1 second. Like, you got Henry Jefferson who made a comment. He said, "Real talk." On what we were just talking about. I see you, big bro. Real talk. But go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, but like I was saying with this, um, it was some shit that happened in North Carolina. A guy was clearly arrested. I mean, they clearly put him over, and I don't know why they put him over, and they clearly was putting cuffs on him. They had no real reason to, and it was already two white guys who had him, and he just standing there, and he ain't resisting arrest or nothing. They just standing there, and somehow this white girl officer walks up to him and gets aggressive and start tugging and pulling on him, and he looking at her like, "What are you doing? They already got me." And she steady pulling. She started pulling him so hard, he his reflexes, he yanked up
Yeah, I saw that.
her
He
and
ended up
the other two
tugging
officers.
her down to the ground. He throwing her to the ground, I should say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he ain't try to hurt her. She did that
right.
to her damn self.
Yes, he did.
And
Yeah.
why does she feel the need to put her hands on that man? See, they want to get in on tagging a nigga.
See what it is, Dave. They listen. And this has been going on since the slavery days, and it's never ended. They feel like they have authority over us, and I've been watching a lot of things that's been going on, and Taylor published House been putting a lot of this out. You just had a woman who was talking about, she had 9 kids, and one of her kids ended up getting scalded by hot water because he turned on, a faucet that was defective. If he ended up getting burnt, but they end up taking his woman child, and every other child that she had after that. So that lets you know, man, that these folks, they feel like that they still own us, that they have a right, that they oversee us, and that's what we really don't realize. You know what I mean? Like, that's why so many of our children are caught up in this. in this justice system, this adopted system, because it's a job for them. They took every last one of nine children that they took from this woman. Even after the incident that happened and it was proven to see that it wasn't her fault, they still went on to after each birth, and she even left the state that she was in, to have other children. They came to that state and still took this woman child. So back saying that to say this, white folks still feel like that they oversee us, that they still own us, you know, um, to this very day, and we got to realize that, we got to come up with a solution to be able to break away, and I want to, and we need to definitely, continue to talk about things like this, man, because like I said, we have been engaged in a war that we have not been informed on about, and this goes back to, to the truckers that's been found hung down in, down south in North Carolina. I want you to speak on that, Dave. It's been a war that's been raised on
Hold
us. I
on, bro.
believe that
Hold
we've
that
not
thought.
even that
Take
we've
over.
not have even engaged back about, so yeah, but yeah, folks, you got to pay attention. There's been a lot of our people coming up missing. You got a lot of truckers that do a lot of traveling down south. You had two brothers that was recently found hung. You even have truckers, two recent truckers that was found hung. So this little uh, I'm not going to even say war, wage war, because listen, it's been going on. We have just not been involved. They've been taking out our people, since the beginning of time and never stopped. You know what I mean? And we've allowed this for these things to happen. We continue to allow the police to be able to put knees on necks and to shoot motherfuckers in the back, and then still allow the justice system to let these motherfuckers walk freely, and nothing has never happened. Nothing never happens, like even with the George Zimmerman case, so when will we choose to be able to fight back, for ourselves, because it's clearly, these folks have waged war on us without us even knowing, it seems like, and it starts with the police, man, and they've been legally, systematically, murdering innocent blacks and men and women. So
Well,
go ahead, Dave.
like,
I'll allow you to elaborate, on these things that we've been talking about.
like I said, man, it's only going to get worse until they allow us to be able to go back at them and hold them accountable the way that they should be held accountable. If they don't start to, if they don't let us sue them and hit their capital, like I said in the beginning, and start taking a pension, retirement, and all that stuff from them, they're
Yeah,
never going to stop because they already believe that it's justified. They
right.
always make the same excuse when they kill one of us. So it's not going to get no better. And it ain't really finna get no better with Donald Trump sending National Guards to all the urban cities to put niggas in check. So it's only going to get worse.
Right.
It's only going to
You,
get worse. So
you
we
know,
better
and
quit running around with this kumbaya bullshit. Every New Year's wasting ammunition, and I ain't promoting violence, but you better be prepared to survive because these people are stirring up a race war, little by little.
yeah, see, and we the last ones to know about this. This race war has been going on since, slavery, Dave, and we have just not realized that this has been going on, man. And I want to do a show, but about, you know, and this is the title. I'm not going to say verbatim, but I want to ask this question: what do you think will happen if black folks took away all their spending and their resources for up to 6 months to a year, away from this economy? What do you think? these folks will do? What do you think will be the response of our counterparts? And if we invested our money in ourselves and we took it and we literally stood behind each other, and we only spent what we needed to spend with these folks, but you know, but generated, and spent most of our money backing up the defenses and in the backing of our people. So my question is, what do people think will happen if if majority of black folks in the United States stop spending their money stupidly on designer shit, on things that we don't need, and start spending things towards things that will help our race, and benefit us,
Well, that's
and
it.
stop helping benefit those that oppress us. What do you think will happen if we did that within a year? And that's my question to to everybody. What do you think our counterparts, how do you think they will react if we stop spending money with them directly?
Well, we definitely will shut the economy down
Yes.
because we spend the most money. So,
Yes, we're the consumers. That's why they keep us
but
around.
see,
And that was my
they
next
want us,
question. But go ahead, Dave.
they want us to believe that. Let's just go into some facts here. With that's not even. I'm gonna go off track for a minute. White folks want us to believe that we're lazy. They even got blacks saying that we're lazy. But let's get real. Who are the lazy ones? Who was the ones putting us on cotton fields while they sit on their ass and rape our women and force labor to our women and make us and beat us when we wanted to stomp on them feet? So who are the lazy ones?
Yeah, Henry Jefferson said Civil War. Is what he think is boiling what is boiling down to. But go ahead. Yeah, I agree with you
That's a
100%,
fact.
Big Dave.
They are the lazy ones because they came up with a system so they didn't have to work and build this country we did. Because they put us to work and they beat us every time we tried to stop. And when we got tired, we tried to run and killed us and sick dogs on us. They the
Yep.
lazy ones. They so lazy they won't even let their own wives um baby suck off the tit. They use our
Yeah,
women. They want our milk.
yeah, not, and that was a fact. Yeah, the nat and that those were the original nannies. But yeah, I want you guys to think about that. What do you think will happen if all the black folks came together at one point, and just for 6 months to maybe a year, and withdrew all their finances, like far as just spending unnecessary money, with these businesses that's been capitalizing off of our off of us for all these years. You know what I mean? What do you think? What do you think what do you think the powers to be, how they will react and what will happen? If we generated our money into our own business and start regenerating and rebuilding the Black Wall Street, do you think we will get more of the past of what happened to Wall Street? So I want you guys to definitely comment down below. I would love to hear you guys' opinion about that, because my thing about that, Dave, we are the consumers of the world, and what I mean by that, black folks, we spend the most. Listen, our women spend the most money when it comes to hair, nails, and that product, and that industry,
No,
yeah,
let's not forget about the damn purses.
yes, exactly. You know what I mean?
Shit.
You got Marcus Swag. He made a comment. I think that will be great, but we have to come together first, though. Yes, and I agree. But my question is, and we definitely do have to come together, and be able to generate this plan. But my question to black folks is, what do you think will happen if we do? If we actually able are to come together, and generate a plan and withdraw our money, and put it to the right, put it to the right use, like how we really have supposed to be, like putting it towards businesses, putting it towards, the development, of our people. What do you think these white folks will do, within a year or two, when their money source dry up? Because we are the consumers of the world. That's why they keep us around. So my question to black folks is, you know, what do you think will happen? And I want everybody to be honest, and this was a show that I actually really wanted to do, but since we're talking about it, I'm just, asking some of the questions. What do you think our counterparts will do? Because we're living in a, a dominated white society, world. But go ahead, Dave. I want you to elaborate on that. What if we start trying to, put some of this money that we've been spending billions on with our women, with the hair, with the nails, and we start trying to put a defense together, for our people, for this police brutality, for them, for when they want to try to attack us. You know what I mean? So, what do you think will happen if we try to put some type of defense plan together for this police brutality, and to be able to just protect ourselves for any onslaught that may come against us?
Well, you have to start from somewhere. So, like the guy said, you have to come together. That's number one. And if we can come together, number two, we can start to see momentum build when you start to see others. Because one thing, when you got proof right in your face that it's working, people get on board a whole lot faster than they will when they don't think it's gonna work. See, we get too caught up in conspiracy theories, and that's what we got to get out of and see that this world is not playing around with us. They do not want us here. So we have to understand that and get real. We got to get completely real. You got to start managing your money a little bit better. You got to start understanding what to do with your money sometimes. Some of us, every time you get a nice amount of money, you don't have to run and get the baddest purse or the baddest this. Oh, it's okay to buy stuff that you like because I like nice things. I always like nice things. But sometimes you got to go was what makes more sense. Sometimes
See, and you know what, Dave? And not to cut you off, but I'm glad you said that, man. And that's another one of the problems that's been going on since the beginning of slavery with our people. We spent unnecessary money, on material things that can be spent on the benefit of upraising our people out of this poverty. And I'm not gonna lie, we have we love to look nice, but and I analyze things like this, Dave. When I look at white folks, they don't care about how they dress. They don't care about the designer or none of that. They would rather spend their money on, buying land and property when we're spending money on unnecessary stuff
you know,
that's going to lose value, within a day or so.
well, you know why they don't care? Because they're
Go
vendors.
ahead.
They're thieves. They stole this fucking country and put us and made us build it. They don't care.
Right. See,
They
no,
don't have
no.
to work hard. They don't have
See,
to
but
work. They make the
and
make.
I agree with you, but we've been knowing that, and we still been falling for the
But
same
that's because
bullshit,
we're
Dave.
That's because we're brainwashed. A lot of us are brainwashed. Me, you, and others can say the right stuff all the time. You're gonna get a few hands and a few people that agree with us 100%, but there's gonna be a lot of naysayers. There's gonna be a lot of them. Oh man, here they go with that black shit because they don't even give it a chance. They get negative before they can even look and see if it's a possibility that it can work. We know it can work because we had Black Wall Street. What was that? What did we have here? Black Bottom. What was it? Black Street, Black Bottom, that they built the freeway on top. We got proof that blacks have owned here in the city of Detroit. Man, we own all kinds of gas stations. We own all kinds of stores. Now I can't find a black store. We got two black gas stations. When I was coming up as a kid, I seen at least 15 of them or 10 of them.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up too, Dave. That was a conversation that I had with Henry Jefferson. And I'm gonna read some of the comments. You got Henry Jefferson. He said, when was America great? You know,
Never.
um, I can go and name times where it may have been great, for Americans, but we got to realize that America was not set up to be great for African Americans. It was set up for us to be the workers, and the backbreakers of building this country. It'll never be great for a second class citizen. We get the second class of everything, and once we realize that, we'll start handling things accordingly. We act like, and these are the conversations that I really been wanting to have, Dave, but I really don't, talk about this as much, but
Well,
we got to stop. We got to
talking
stop
about it now.
acting like we got to stop acting like we dominate and we rule this country. We don't. You know what I mean? This country is ruled by Caucasians, and it's always going to be an unequal, justice system. Is going to always be police brutality. It baffles me when people think that when they call the police out or when the police come out that they're going to look at us how they look at their own people. No, they're going to come out with to either try to lock your ass up or either or really or kill you. And that's what's been going on for a long time. The police, you know, um, their job is to generate money, and that's what they do. When they encounter black folks, because these are one of the things that I wrote down. For every negative thing that black folks done, there has been a job created for for white folks.
Well,
Meaning probation,
I mean,
police,
hey,
judges. They oversee everything that we do
neg-
negatively. They oversee and they make jobs for their people. So we have to realize that they capitalize on everything that we do negatively. You know what I mean? They capitalize on all the wrongdoing.
it,
It's a system
I
that's set up, that's been thriving, for over 600 years, since we've been in this country.
well, w- what they're good at is hiding things. See,
That's a fact.
anytime that we do something good as a race and we get momentum, they find a way to knock it right down because they hide it. See, because they control everything that we need to move. They control all the TV stations. They control the media. They control the news. They control it all. Whenever we get some kind of momentum, they find a way to shoot it down and they lie. And a lot of us, we believe in that shit. We believe everything that the white man say, majority of us.
No,
I
that's a fact,
tell
Dave.
somebody facts and show them facts and they still will tell me I'm crazy. So, it starts at home. Now, we might have had a different time when we was growing up because we had a community raising us and stuff, but it's not like that today. These kids are not getting taught at home the proper way to understand how to go after this for the future. We might know it, but they don't for the future because it's for them. And we can
Henry
get a whole
Jefferson said
children
they
that
run
so they can
they
understand
run it. We live
they're
here. Yeah,
doomed.
I agree. He said
They're
they
doomed.
run it. We live here. See, and that's what we got to realize. We're living in a systematic. And this is what baffled me, Dave. When shit happened with the police, they said we have to do retraining. No, those are just words that they say. The training that they give is right. They're doing everything systematically. The murdering that's going on, this shit is supposed to happen. You know what I mean? It's just these are just wordplay that they use to try to settle us. But everything is working according to plan. There's no training that they're ever redoing. These are just words that they're using to try to satisfy. Even the white citizens, that even think that some of this shit is wrong. You know what I mean? So it's us. We have to realize that this shit is not going to change. We have to make a difference. It's not going to listen. When will your oppressors ever let their fucking foot off your throat? Never. So it's us who have to like really realize that we're living we're living behind enemy lines. We've never stopped living behind enemy lines. And once we address that accordingly, and really what it's going to take to really see how our oppressors really feel about us is like what I said in the beginning, withdrawing this money, because that's the only thing that they respect is money and blood. That's it.
Well, like I said, all you can do is take one day at a time, and all you can do is teach as much as you can. But it's hard because, like I said, the millennium is for them.
Yeah.
This world is set for them, and we see where it's going already. I mean, kids are being raised with tablets and iPads.
Which was a design,
Yeah,
and you got to look, who put
government.
this out. But Marcus Swag said,
Yeah, they know what
and
they were
that's why
doing.
we have to build on our shit by supporting black businesses
Well,
and coming together and owning all of our shit. I agree 100%.
I agree. I
We
agree.
have to realize that. Once we realize that and start, the money that our women,
But it
and I'm
still
not going to be
start
like,
at home.
most of a lot of the money that and I keep going back to the women, that the money that they spend on hair, nails, lashes, and these BBLs, these are billions. Imagine if these billions were going towards, building land, property, and actually building some type of defense to be able to protect our people from this onslaught. You know what I mean? But go ahead, Dave. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to say that.
No,
But yeah, I agree with you, Marcus Swag.
no, I agree what he's saying. I agree what you saying. But like I said, at the end of the day, it starts at home. If these kids are not getting taught what we're talking about, and they only know about social media, the distraction has already started.
Henry Jefferson said, "But the first will last, and the last will be first again." Um, I don't I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, you have to you have to be able to put an end to who's leading now. We understand what's going on, and I agree with you. There's no other way around that. But we have to understand, what's going on to us as a people. We don't really understand that. We've been tricked with religion. And don't get me wrong. I don't have nothing against people who's trying to live right and who look at religion,
There's nothing
in a
wrong
good
with
way,
that.
because without religion, we will be living in a chaotic world. But what they have done is took the religion, the heart that we have that we take for religion, they took in that part of us, and it softened us to be weak, for this onslaught that's been going on with us, because when it comes to them ruling and racing, religion is the last thing that they think about.
Well,
But yeah, Henry Jefferson's, been coming up with some great comments. Marcus Swag, if you are not a subscriber to the show, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Your boy is coming. I'm getting real close to a lot of my goals over here. I just want to make sure, that everybody who's watching the show is making sure that they hitting that subscribe button and making sure that y'all subscribing and sharing. But yeah, yeah, man, we have to realize what's really going on. We've been tricked, for so many years. We've been getting pimped out by a lot of these pastors.
of
Even the
course.
conscious world been getting pimped out. I don't even know if a lot of people are familiar what's been going on with the whole Dr. Umar Johnson, situation. You know what I mean? And that right there will cause us to lose a lot of trust in our own people with the situation that's been going
I
on with him. We have
agree.
to start being trustworthy of each other, for us to and see, and that's what's wrong with black folks.
Well,
We'll be untrustworthy, and that'll stop, the most that'll stop what's the word that I'm looking for? It'll stop the the um the majority of us backing all of us, from stupid shit,
well,
that Dr. Umar Johnson just let
well.
let go on.
That,
So we have to get away from, pimping out the people and just being straight
Well,
up and honest about what we're doing, because if this shit that he did doesn't go through, doesn't come out positive, we might not never be able to get another Dr. Umar Johnson in the community.
I mean,
The people might not never back another Umar Johnson. Go ahead, Big Dave.
I mean, look, I don't mean to cut you off, but I gotta say this because sometimes, we'll go on to another topic and don't get said. It's like it's more of them out here. It just is. They just not gonna let you see them. At the end of the day, the problem with us, and I'm just being real. The problem with us is if one black person do something wrong, we turn on them all. See, white folks
Yeah,
don't do that to each other. See,
no,
white folks can get five whites that get them bad business deals when they still don't keep their money with the whites.
yeah,
First time one of us gets screwed by one black person, we run straight to the white boy, the Mexican or the Arab.
yeah. See, and
And
we
they
got to
can
get out of
screw us
and
and
we got
we'll
to get out of
still
that
go back to
mindset, Dave. Because that has separated us. Even from the Arabs and the Chaldeans that has infiltrated. Our communities. We allow. Them to come in our communities and capitalize. And take majority of the money that we could have been making. And they enrich Dearborn, their communities, and surrounding communities that don't have nothing to
that's
do,
because they come
with
together.
our communities. Go ahead.
That's they come together, Dane.
Yeah,
See that if you got five Arab bunk shops in the neighborhood and you got one or two black bump shops, guess where you think all the niggas gonna go? Not to the niggas. They're gonna go to the Arabs.
yeah.
And that's
See,
a fact.
and that's a mindset that
That's
we
a fact.
that we've have against each other that's been going on for a long time, Dave. That we got to get out of. It's like, what is it with us trying to? What is it with us that we don't like to see? Our brother man succeed and be profitable. We rather spend our money with the Chaldeans and the Arabs, and our counterparts
But
versus spending it with
is
our brother man.
the thing is they can screw over you. My point is they can screw over you and you still give another one of them a chance. But the men I hear blacks say it all the time. They go somewhere and they get messed up by one black person. Man, I ain't fucking with none of them. And every time you deal with niggas, man, it's always a problem. See, it's the mentality, it's the thinking.
I agree.
It's
And
the
that
one
and that
less
and that
thinking.
thinking as not that original thinking was put on us by our oppressors. You know what I mean? Because at one point, we had no problem spending money with each other. We had no problem
No,
uplifting
we
each
didn't have
other,
it
helping
all.
each other with their businesses, trying to get each other established. So this was something that was put in the heads. This is something that was told, by our counterparts, at the end of the day.
Brainwash, man. We brainwash
Yeah,
and we got to get right. We got to get right. We got to start learning to listen more. We have to learn to start reading more and paying attention to certain things because reading is fundamental. A lot of us don't understand that. We have families who have died because they knew how to read back in them days, and when they found out, they killed.
yeah, yeah,
So, we just got to understand what we're facing here and find a way to try to come together. It might start with a handful of us, but that don't mean it can't turn to more. We just got to catch more
yeah.
people that's willing to listen than speak first.
Right. Henry Jefferson said it's all a setup. You got to keep your head up, Tupac. I agree. And
But
this is what we have to realize, Henry Jefferson. Everything that we do um, is a setup. We have to approach everything, cautiously. Because like I said in the beginning, they have a system that's set up for them to be able to thrive and that for them to be able to capitalize off of every mistake that we make. And saying that to say that is the justice system. There's so many departments in the justice system, where our counterparts have developed and made jobs, just off of the mistakes that we make alone. Just think about the court system. Every single day, it's a nigga going to court, seeing a judge, a lawyer, a probation officer, a judge, paying a bailiff, paying a bail's bondman. It's a repetitive cycle, and they've set up a system, where their people are successful. We don't have this type of system set up. We don't capitalize in any of this shit. You know what I mean? And we have to realize that, that our counterparts has set up a system against us that we can't, I'm not going to say we can't avoid, but it's almost like we can avoid this shit, and we have to come up with some other type of system of our own to be able to counteract this system that they have, because they're winning with this system. Look at the prison system. It's filled up, majority of blacks, not saying that they don't capitalize off their own people, because these motherfuckers don't give a fuck who they make money off of. They
Well,
will impersonate and they will kill their own people for capital,
w-
but for the most part, it's been beneficial for them to capitalize and to make these necessary gains that they've been making off of us, since we've thinking that we've been free, but at the same time, they still oversee us in every way. If we are being seen in every which way in the justice system, how can you possibly be free
well, I
if
mean,
you're overseen in everything?
called it's called big business. Why do you think they keep building more jails? They starting to build more
Yeah,
prisons now. See, they build a whole lot of state prisons. Now they're starting to build more federal prisons. See, at the end of the day, it's called big business. Like in California, it's forty to $50,000 a head.
yeah,
A head.
facts.
A head.
And that probably was about 10 years ago when it was about 40, 50,000. It probably don't went up a little bit since then.
But
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 no,
I'm
I agree. It's a big businesses.
it's big
You
business.
even have some of our own people that has been getting into the business of the prison to pipeline system that has been beneficial. And what I mean by that, and I even had things wrote down that I had to show for this. They even have our own people working for them, working against us.
I mean, look, you're gonna always have your Uncle Toms. You just are. You're gonna have a group of people that's gonna run with the other side. That's just what it is. And we can't do nothing about that. But what we can do is keep talking to people and hoping that they're willing to listen and learn, and hope that they can follow what we're saying and see that it can work. We have to look for them kind of people that's willing to listen, that's willing to understand. Because we got a lot of us, we will not listen. We will not. And that's what's sad about us. We will not. I mean, you can't even get a word out before they say, "Oh man, get on with that black shit."
And it's horrible, man. When you look like okay, my question to you is when you look at the youth, this, and I'm gonna keep it real. They even call themselves this label, this YN, this young nigga. When you look at this youth, um do you see any, what's the word that I'm looking for? Uplifting, anything that you think that will set us apart from, being able to liberate us, or will this new next generation of these YNs and these, young women continue to keep us in a state of mind where we are, and that's a devastating deep state, tragedy that we've been in, listen, with all the stuff that's been released on our people, with um, and I'm not going to even get into that, but with the mindset of this young generation, saying all that to say, Dave, do you see anything that from this young generation that we'll be able to rebuild? Get back to, even trying to rebuild a Black Wall Street, or even get back to what greatness was for Black folks at one point of a time.
I mean, it depends on where you go. Because it is some use out here that's really on top of some real stuff. And then you got your ones who not. So it depends on where you go and where you looking for the ones that's upbringing like that. And that's who you need to be looking for to talk to. See,
Right.
because they're going to deliver that message on and on and on to people that think like them. See, you have to look for them kind of groups these days and time because certain groups they don't want to hear it because they stuck with the Willie Lynch syndrome. Willie Lynch said he will enslave us another 400 years, and it's working.
Oh, it's definitely
Work.
been working, man.
But we do have a group of young people out here that's willing to learn because there's always going to be some leaders. Always. It's just how many of them are willing to understand what we're saying now for the future for them. That's what we
right.
got.
Yeah, man. Well, I definitely agree with you on that, but we definitely have to wake up soon, Dave, because like I said, man, it's definitely been a war raised against us, and we're just not the only ones, we're just not seeing it. You know what I mean? Like I said, you've been having multiple of our truckers that's been doing deliveries that's been coming up missing. You've been having a lot of stuff that's been going on throughout the country, that's been happening to blacks that majority of the blacks have not been noticing, that's been going on through the country. Not just the police murdering and getting away with justified homicides, I should say. So us as a people, we have to be more vigilant. And watchful for what's going on throughout the country, and we got to do a better job at, you know, um, what our counterparts has set for us at, unsetting, as coming in. And this is basically what I said with I'm not going to say with the title, but the question did I ask, what will happen if we stop spending, money with our counterpart from 6 months to a year, and dedicated the unnecessary money, towards rebuilding and vitalizing, the black community. It would definitely be war raised against us, in my opinion, if that was to happen.
I mean, of course it will. And not to cut you off, of course it will, because when they see that we're getting momentum, they try to find a way to stop it.
Right.
They always
See, and
okay. Look at this example. Not cutting you off, Dane,
no,
but
go
that's
ahead.
like
My bad.
downtown. Think about it. Look at all them black businesses was just downtown about 5 years ago in the city of Detroit. We had all kinds of black businesses off of Woodward, all near the Forest Field and all that. We had all kinds of black businesses, and guess what they did? When they got all them
What?
luxury apartments, they raised the rent on all them buildings, and guess what? The niggas is gone. Guess where they at now? They further down by Highland Park on Woodward.
Right.
They can't afford the
Uh,
rent. They can't afford the
yeah,
lease.
and that's another tactic that was used, against us, that we was that our leaders, the so-called leaders that we have set in place with city council. A lot of this shit that goes on, they know firsthand and first foremost before we even know. You know what
Real.
I mean? Our leaders have been leading us in the wrong way, you know, um, for a lot of years. You know what I mean? But Henry Jefferson made another comment. He said, "Back to the basics, trade schools for the YNs." Yeah, I agree. That's why they took the trade schools out. Maybe what,
Exactly.
about 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, they been took that from us, and
Yeah, because I work in the field where trade is pretty much dominated, by our counterparts, and that was taken away, from us, maybe longer than that, because I've been out of school for about 30 years, and it's been gone for at least 15 to 20 years now.
the trade
You know
was
what I mean?
thing-
Go ahead, Big Dave.
the trade was the best thing that you can have if you didn't want to go.
Yes,
You
I
know,
agree.
a bricklayer, a heating and cooling, electrician.
Electrician, a pipe layer. You
Yeah,
know what I
all
mean? See, and these were the things that we were tricked out of the communities, that our counterparts, that still to this day have in their communities. You know what I mean? So this is the unequal justice, that I've been talking about, that will never be equal for us. It'll always be some type of unequal justice. And my thing is, I don't understand why our people, do so much marching and protesting, thinking that things will change. We have to change things on our own. We have to force things, and back our own people, and use our own money, because they're not going to, promote anything positive, or use any money to be able to back anything positive in the black community. We have to do it on our own.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep. So, but yeah, man, those are just a few things I want to touch on, Dave. If you got anything else, man, that you want to, it's kind of like a freestyle Friday. There was no topic. I just want to touch on this for a second. Talk about my homeboy Emery Clark getting married today. I want to send a shout out again to Emery Clark and his wife. Who was just married today. It was a beautiful wedding. It was a beautiful ceremony. But yeah, man, we have to just realize, as a people that, we've been tricked to think that we're equal, that it's going to be an equal, opportunity, with the justice system, with the work system, with the school system, just overall. But it's not. It's proven to not be equal, and we need to just stop with all this marching, and this protesting, and just come up with another solution, and coming up with ways to be able to, financially back the things that we think that's unequal.
I mean, I can't do nothing but agree. It is at the end of the day, we just got to get better. There's
Yeah.
all ways we can, but we have to really see action speaks louder than words. We just have to find a way to get better because things we already see the direction it's going. It's not good for us if we don't get together and move on this fast.
Yeah, not, I mean, at all. And you hit it right on the word. We have to move fast, because at this point, we're not even a second class citizen, no more. We've allowed the Mexicans to take our place,
That's what they.
where we were are. The white man don't even come to us for certain things that they used to come to us for. We still dominate in the athletic and the entertainment business, but when it comes to, business and other things, we allow for these Mexicans, our cousins to
Well,
be able to come in, and take over where what things that we once had taken over. But go ahead, Big Dave.
I mean, Dane. I mean, I agree. I agree with you to a extent. They go to them because it's easier to go to them than us because they can't trick us. They can trick them. They can't trick us. See, they know they got us. See them, they don't trust them. They trust us because they breeded us. So they're gonna make you think what they want you to think. That's why we have to put the message out here, like you talking about doing right now, like you and Henry talking about. That is his name, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the things that y'all saying. Y'all making a lot of sense, and I agree with y'all. We just have to work on and not worry about that because a lot of that stuff is not facts. You know what I'm
And
saying?
Henry Jefferson also said blacks need to police their own on you said on COM, but maybe he was meaning their own kind. And I agree. We have to come up.
All that.
Listen, you have white folks that, and I did a show about this. You have white folks that's been building communities that's only, allowed that whites are allowed. Kind of like what we built in Black Wall Street, Dave. We have to get back to building that up. We allowed them to destroy, what something that we once dominated, and to answer your question, Henry Jefferson, that's when American was great for African Americans during those times. You know what I mean? There once were a time where we thrived, during those times, and it was times where we thrived during the, the automotive cycle, where a lot of our folks came from down south, up here to, to the workforce, to the to the auto part workforce. You know, a lot of our peoples came from down south, and was able to come down here and capitalize. So things were great. For us, for a lot of us individualized. But we have to get on a large amount where it's on a whole where we're dominating again. But yeah, I want to thank. I want to thank everybody who made that comment. It definitely was some great comments. I love when you guys interact and you comment. It definitely makes a great show. Big Dave, let everybody give everybody your last word. Let everybody know what you got going on.
Well, my last word is we just got to figure it out. And like I said, we got to move fast on it because we ain't got time to waste right now. Y'all can reach me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Real Talk. That's one whole word. Wit, WIT, Big Dave on Facebook, Big Dave Crawford. Check my show out. Make sure y'all subscribe and like. I'm putting a lot of good content out there. I got fire coming for y'all. And anybody want me to be a voice for you, I'm here to do it. Get with me.
For sure. And Henry Jefferson and Marcus Swag, since I got y'all on here, make sure that y'all go over there now, and subscribe to his channel on YouTube. It's Real Talk with Big Dave. He's putting out great content. We've been doing a lot of work together, so definitely make sure you get over there and support him. That's a way right there, we're supporting the black business owner. So make sure you go over there and subscribe to his channel. I don't have anything else to add, man. This is a topic that I'm going to make sure, Dave, that I continue to put out there, and to try to continue to put into the mindsets of our people, because we have to realize, man, we can't continue going um on the same road that we've been going on. Now, I'll say this individually, individually, a lot of us have been successful, and that's how they've planned it. You know what I mean? So we have to realize that a lot of us individually has been doing great, but our counterparts, and not even our counterparts. I can think of the Asians, the Chinese, the Japanese, even the Chaldeans and the Muslims. I mean, the Chaldeans and the Arabs that's been over here. They've been successful, and they've done it as a group. So we have to get back to being able, to do the same things that all these other groups are doing. They allow us to be able to do it individually. We want to be able to do it on a large scale as a group, to be able to bring our people up. You know what I mean? So I'm going to keep talking about this. This is a topic that I'm going to keep bringing up, that I'm going to keep elaborating on, that I'm going to try to keep putting in the mindsets of our people. Someone has to do it. And I'm just going to keep, like I said, I'm going to make sure that, I talk about things like this, on a daily, and to make sure that I try to put certain things like this in the mindsets of our people so we can change the mindsets, because the only way we're going to change, you know, um, the way, only how we're going to be able to change the way that our people is going is to be able to change the mindsets of our people, So I'm going to go ahead and end it on that. I don't have anything else to add. It's your boy Dame D, and we are out. Peace.